Welcome back to the Chester Centurion Podcast. I'm your host Alan Bark, and today I'm joined by Nick and Sean from Porcelanosa in Chester, part of a global, family-owned brand that started in the most unlikely place, an orange grove in Valencia back in 1973. From that small beginning, Porcelanosa has grown into a design and manufacturing powerhouse, operating in 152 countries with over 5,000 staff, yet still holding on to its values, its heritage, and its obsession with quality. In our conversation, Nick and Sean share how a family business scaled into a global leader through innovation, research and development, and total control of manufacturing from factory to showroom. Why their Chester showroom serves everyone from homeowners to architects to major developers, and why no one should be intimidated by the brand. The timeless principles behind their success: knowing your margins, delivering on your promises, fixing problems fast, and nurturing long-term relationships. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Chester Centurion Podcast. Today I'm joined by Nick and Sean from Porcelanosa in Chester. Before we get started today, I'd love to know a little bit more about Porcelanosa, where it came from, how it started. Nick, over to you.
A family business, 1973. They were actual orange grown producers as a family, and then they had a really bad season with the oranges. The weather came in, and they suddenly realised they needed a sustainable business. As simple as that. There were two partners who sent the business going, so they thought, actually, we need to change this. They realised, obviously, originally they were in what follows the Valencia region. It's sort of like with clay and figures, so it's like a tile region as such for it. It's expanding now bigger from all over the world, but it started there. So they started then with more factory in 1973. It's slowly grown, evolved, to this day now, it's 152 countries, it's a multi-billion-dollar business, really.
But still family run.
It's still family owned. Yeah. And so they just had a buyout last year, so there's now one family that should completely control of the whole business. Then from there, two families and actually there in one family.
And it started in an orange grove.
Yeah.
How cool is that? That's pretty special.
And we still get the oranges.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, we have crates that we send out to us, and then we send it out to all our clients, whatever have been listed. Yeah, you still keep that little bit of heritage. Yeah, they own all the groves still around it, around the factories to say, so we use the oranges.
So, Sean, it's multifaceted now, isn't it? It's not just about tiles anymore. Tell me about how it's grown over the years.
Well, sort of year on year, every sort of 4 or 5 years, we kind of created a new business that tags on to the existing business, the core business of the tiles. They've moved into sort of bathrooms, they've moved into kitchens, they've moved into solid surface materials like your crayon material that we do for worktops and facades. They also do pod manufacturing now. They've slowly expanded, and it's always about piling money back into research and development for the company, really, just to grow and grow and grow. So we were up to 8 factories at one point.
Wow.
And they've now shrunk it down because of the buyout, the change in the two sides of the management. It's now under one brand for the tiles generally. So it's down to 7 companies, but we're still covering those 8 companies worth in the business, really. So it's pretty substantial.
Incredible. And we're up to a team of over 5,000 staff members across the world as well. That's really cool. Really cool. And to hear it came from an orange grove, I didn't know that. So that's quite interesting. So we're based in the showroom in Chester today, and it's very posh. It's beautiful, actually. And I'm getting a design done for a bathroom myself. I don't know whether I told you that or not. What kind of people do you serve in the sort of Chester community? How would you describe your customers?
You could describe some real customer base, and very bargainous, I think, which is where I always think with Porcelanosa, what people don't realise about us is that we are, in essence now, we are a one-stop shop where everybody knows us type because of kitchens, bathrooms, bedrooms, house. We do everything. But I think from a client base, our main obsession roles are looking after sort of designers, property developers, architects, single house build people as well, but it's, sure, especially even on like regional build. As we all probably know, you buy a wimpy house either or something, or a Redrow or whatever, you'd be walking on our tiles, which you might not know about, but because we've covered both sides of the marketplace really, from an entry level, it's like right to our, as we know in our showroom, our top end level. But it's about progressing, I think, with our sort of our actual client base. I think is so varied, which is why our job role has to be out to find and explore those sort of concepts for it, and then bring people into that, bring people into Porcelanosa, and also see it and actually show what we do. And actually, I think they get it a bit more there. We can cover everybody. So that's like, I think we try and make sure that we're kind of accessible to all people in a particular area, rather than just sort of having this standalone showroom where people look at it from the outside and go, it's very expensive in there. We'll have a look round. We do get that people come in and they walk right round, and pretty much as soon as they've walked in, you see them disappearing out the door, and you're like, you okay? Yeah, fine. And you know what they're thinking deep down. And I've had to call people on their way out the showroom sometimes saying, was everything all right? So it just filled with a lot. And we could see the expression was like, oh, it's too expensive in here. And I said, well, no, let me just show you how it works. And actually then they sort of engaged with another member of staff, and I left them to it because I don't typically work in the showroom. I felt that the opportunity was there to stop that customer from leaving pure if they look and think, oh, it's out of our league, because it's certainly not. For all, the businesses really.
The showroom's beautiful, and I can get why people might think that, but you've got a full product range that we can serve probably anybody, right?
Well, we're covered really. Sort of, I've been here 14 years, and in those years I've grown the sort of regional builders market. Your Landlord Homes, your Castle Greens, your Wayne Homes, your Watkin Jones, those kind of companies. I've grown them from about 2 or 3 of those that were dealing with initially, and currently sits on 22 regional build. Wow. Which there's been a huge increase. But they're covering everything from, smaller builds where they might have sort of 4 or 5 plots, right up to people doing 200-300 plots on a plot of land. So it's a vast spread. And also the social housing, the affordable housing, we're also in those markets as well. So we're something for every level of the market, really.
Really cool.
But people need to ask those questions. They need to engage with us rather than, being scared off really by the
beautiful showroom. So I think the answer is come in and have a bloody look, right?
Have a look, and you'll be sorry how nice everybody is, and how people are very welcome to come in.
Really cool. Listen, I'd like to focus more on the business and kind of understand what it took to take it from an orange grove to a sort of global entity that it is today. And I don't think that happens by accident. I think you've got to have a really strong, unique selling point. Tell us a bit about that, Nick.
I would say more than anything, we've always said this. Now, when we go to Spain, we go to back well, and we see the size of it, it's enormous. We're on 2 roads now. If we stretch it out, it's almost about a mile long.
Wow,
that should apply. It's absolutely enormous. And I think if you try to do it nowadays, it would happen. I don't think you could physically have the capability to actually build a company, to the amount it cost now with the way revenue's changed, and base of inflation. So the way they did it progressively was amazing back then, from the 70s, it's mounted, and it's been built, I think, on everything goes back in. They're very asset rich as a company. We own everything. They don't rent anywhere as well, so we'll have the loss showings, anything that we own. So they are very much in the safety net. They probably even go into the malls, as we've all learned recently, like with McDonald's, and actually being a retailer, a state-rich company as opposed to selling fast food. Almost, also probably the same. We own everything. So they're just progressing into America in the last few years massively. That's probably their next goal with David Levitt. I think it's going to be we're going to take over there. We've got about 24 stores, but it's going to grow. It's a huge continent. But I just think the whole business, I think the ethos is the right people. They're very good for their recruiting. I think they need people who are knowledgeable, really drill down and focus on what they can do then for the business and expand it. As we say, we're not that. I would always say to everybody, I don't think everybody really knows much about us. We do tailors, that's all they think. So we're almost like this secret assassin, I think, of the company. I look at that. It's like they are that big, and yet how did we get there? I think it is just I think the family values certainly helps people buy into that sort of that side of it. But I do think they've just, I think, like Sean said originally, I think once we've gone from one sort of factory, they've focused and made it so good at what they do, then they've actually putting the money back into it. And then if we open up as we did with bathrooms and the kitchens, we'll make everything perfect with that.
So much money goes straight back into the research and development. I mean, they're predominantly in many ways an R&D company. That's really they do, isn't it? Yeah, look at it. Yeah, it's very much about research and development. Breaking boundaries, finding new products, creating new product concepts. Everything's in-house design as well. So all the tiles are designed in-house by their own designers, tweaked.
Yeah, I mean, you're actually dealing with a company now where, so we all know about fashion.
Mm-hmm.
This thing go to start and trends and settings. And as we always talk about in the UK market, we're generally maybe 2 years behind Europe. It's always that the way it flows into London and it grows up north. We're a company who are a fashionable, we design trends. So actually we start trend because we make the type.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny, actually, we're not even something where we follow anybody else. People, designers who are literally producing this sort of attire. And that's it. So again, the
aspirations as well that we spoke about earlier. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Architects and designers in both this country and abroad as well. They're keen to always push the boundary with that, really. Do these collaborative projects with those high-end designers.
And how important do you think having that USP and that research and development, being innovative, being at the head of the market, how important is that in the growth of the business?
Well, I think it's massive because I've sort of worked for various businesses, some tile firms, some nationals, some multinationals. So I've moved around. I've also worked for small independents. But what I've noticed about this business specifically is that for you to be able to control the whole process from the beginning, so making the actual product and bringing it right through from manufacturing, warehousing, sending it over here on their own vehicles, logistically, bringing it into their own showrooms, storing it in their own warehouses. That whole process of start to finish with the business, from marketing it to both the retail customer and the trade customer, it is massive. Mm-hmm. And I can't see how any other business out there really could ever make the potential money that they could by not doing everything themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If you're buying from another company, which a lot of tile firms have to do, they go to Turkey or they go to India or China, they're buying that product from another supplier.
Mm-hmm.
That supplier runs out of that product or they fall out of favor with them. They don't have a business. But this, by us controlling everything from the very beginning, you've got consistency as well right through the business. And I think that I can't see any other business model in this game where you can do that, control it so well.
Peace of mind is massive. That's the thing for clients. And that's where we get more and more with our architects who specify. We can specify a job and might not arrive or start for 2 years' time. It would do. It's a new build. It's I don't know, somebody on the stone block or something like with Manchester and things that happen there. It can be 2 to 3 years before that's complete, but we know from the offset of where we are as a company that we can then forecast how that will all progress. The price that they even get set then is the price they're going to pay when it's finished as well, because we own it. So we know we can set all those goals and it's not going to change.
And you can also make a promise to a client. If they say, we have this project, listen, we really want these products, but it's not going to be built for 18 months, 2 years. As long as they're getting some form of commitment from that client, we can say, what's the problem? We'll make sure that we produce that for you, because we can produce and turn and control those production lines as we see fit. So what we've had a lot of recently with the large format tiles, a very big format. This is a big contract with America.
Mm-hmm.
And that has taken a lot of the production space up by servicing that market. But it just goes to show that we can deliver to that client in that country and dedicate a production line or production lines to specifically that project.
It's really cool.
That's a strong position to be in.
That agility is, yeah. Really interesting. Listen, one of your values talks about the trust that you put in your employees. How important has that been in the success of the business?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think, touched on earlier, I think about with the recruiting side of it as well. They want the right people. There's a lot of time, money, and spent in recruiting. from Zurich, Jordan, I've been here 3 years, and even within the first sort of 6 months, you're over to Spain a couple of times. They're trying to show everything. There's a lot to learn in this business, and we're not just our company, and that's the difference. So you've got to learn everything. Then it's got all the factories, but I think they target in the first place. I think they're very good for the recruiting on who they need in their area. So they're leaving it very much then up to, our Northwest general manager will pick on the West Stafford thing as much as we'll deal them with Spain and masters and head office. Yeah, it's very regional. They need to be that. They know they need the right people in their right area who can service departments.
But it
good emphasis on it.
It also feels like the values are embedded into the business, properly embedded. That's the impression I'm getting anyway.
Yeah, I think it can go either way. For people when they join the company, they can either commit to the company and enjoy it, and they get a great life out of it. Wow. Or they can perhaps sometimes look on the negative side that there's so much to learn and it's overwhelming, and maybe it's not for them. So that does happen. You're not always getting the right person. But what I found quite interestingly is, coincidentally, is that in this showroom mile, there was 2 people that work in this business in the showroom that I worked with 25 years ago. And it's come full circle. It's really strange when you're with a business 25 years ago and you've got 2 key people that you really got on with very, very well. You've left that business and you've been out of that business for at least 15, 20 of those years. And then you're full circle, and the guys that you're working with 25 years later are the same guys you were working with. And that's on the basis that when you're out there and you're seeing these friends and contact, people are looking for a job, or they're thinking of leaving a business. The fact that you're speaking to old friends and work colleagues, it brings them on board.
That speaks volumes, doesn't it?
The two guys on this show specifically, one I spoke to out and about because I knew they were looking for new work, and another one rang me because they were being made redundant from the business and said, were there any jobs going?
Gosh.
And I actually got my job through somebody. I worked for another tile firm years ago, and one of the ladies I worked with in that tile firm was working for this company. I kept in touch with her even though I'd left, and I just rang her up one day and said, I'm looking for a new job. Can we get me in it? And she said, funny enough, I'm moving to another department. You can have my job as such. So
really?
I'll get you in and have the interview. And it went from there. So it's word of mouth as well, wasn't it? And good contacts. Wasn't it? You came from that process. I was sort of steering customer originally.
Yeah. I mean, I've dealt with it for about 18 years in interior design and my background. And then changed because of that, almost really, sort of got worn down. Got some actually, you should come and join us here because they've got, you got a lot of experience and not saying there's a nice process to come into from my point of view. So I also touch on the fact that
great life.
Last week I was over at the factories and the son of the business who will be taking over next kind of have lunch with us. They know your name. They talk to us. We might have 5,000 employees around the world, but it's also from the family point of view. They are very close. To the owners. Actually, what we're doing, we talk to them monthly as well. Email contact. So with the business, they do filter it out. They know they want to look after their staff. You have senior people that you can speak to occasionally. I've got a couple of guys that I'll do in Spain regularly, but they're the secrets of my success as well as going out doing a hard day's work. I get a WhatsApp in the morning, check your emails because we've sorted something for you. Just to have that relationship over there as well and build that relationship with the sort of owners and the senior people or the people responsible for doing our job, really. It's great to have that, that connection really, that you can just send them a message and say, can you sort this out for me? Can you help me? So it's definitely there, considering it's such a massive company. It's very, very fluid. You get invested in the people that are working over there and you get a relationship built with them as a business, then it works really, really well.
I think my biggest takeaway from this, and I get asked quite a lot, when people are saying that I don't really want to scale the business because when it gets so big, you lose control, and you can't control the quality, you can't control the way people are treated. And I think there's 3 elements that have to be right. One is you have to understand your values, and everybody needs to understand the values. They need to be embedded and ingrained in the business. 2, I think the systems need to be really, really good. And 3, you need the right bums and the right seats. The team has to be absolutely tight and all rowing in the same direction. If you get those 3 elements right, you can scale to a global business without affecting the quality of the service in any way, shape or form.
It's a positive working relationship as well. Yeah, you find it. I mean, that goes to Spain a little bit more often than I do, but that is often because he has a client base that demands that, or that gets greater benefit from that. But the benefits of being able to do that regularly, right? I forms a really nice relationship with the client as well. When you take them over there and you look after them and you show them a world that I can't really describe it when you go over there. It's quite abnormal.
It's very, everybody says that when we drive on the motorway to get towards the factories, it's quite awe-inspiring, and it is.
Really?
Or I tend to think our showrooms actually look good. Something that put our factories, I think, even cleaner and better. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, can you get off the floor in at our factory as well? You probably can, but everything is attention to detail. Every single glass box, you call it, which is on the front of the factories that have a showroom just showing what that factory makes. They're all identical. They're all immaculate. Everything's 100% looking special because it needs to be, because that's what we perceive of business. So to keep that level of expectancy at that high end, we want to be at the top for everything we do. But it doesn't mean that, like we said, our product can be from this level all the way up. We keep that level, even at this level of product, we can keep it at that high.
That makes sense.
And we should, why not?
So what's next? What's next for the business? Are we going to be seeing AI designing our bathrooms and kitchens? Are robots going to come and fit them? Where are we going next?
There's a lot of robots being used already.
We got robots already.
Kitchen manufacturing side, a lot of that is very heavily automated.
Wow.
And what you'll notice with a lot of our factories is that there's very little staff on the production lines. You've literally got all the production lines with 2 or 3 members of staff on. So the actual hands-on element of the business can be quite small. You go in our kitchen factory and most of this is run by, instead of picking things up off shelves, carrying them around. Spent 50 million with the new pod factory, and so that it runs like car plant robotics now, as you'll see how they build cars. They're actually now building pods, so that even robots are tailored to tiling as well now to 1 millimeter grout, and they'll weld the forms together. They'll bring the actual pods. So we made complete bathroom shells, basically. The sliding to hotels and things. It's all automated now, all robotic. I think from an AI point of view, it's massive at the moment, and we're using it now. Our design team can use it. It's brilliant to bring things even more realistic to life. I'd always say that I'd like to think there'll always be an element design. Because a bit like when we're doing tiles, there's only so much you can put into AI, then it's how much you can think from something. That's the difference, I think. So design, I think, will always be design-led. What needs to be, by and large, it's for controlling it at the moment behind, don't they? It's like this rise of the robots thing, isn't it? Yes, at the point. It's like when you go onto your, you get that pop-up, don't you, that says, check that you're not a robot. You've got a robot checking that you're genuinely a human. So it's a bit like it gets to that point where it becomes quite scary, really. You can just think, well, does that mean that there's going to be no jobs for people in the future that are going to be run by robots? Actually, no, because if you don't have that common touch and that face-to-face personal element, and that you can't create that relationship between a client and an individual member.
No.
You can't create that through a website or through an automated, even in the airports now, I think they've got robots that bring you drinks in Amsterdam.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, on trays, bring you drinks on trays. And this was stuff they were talking about in the 1960s. But you cannot replace that human relationship and that connection between client and retailer or seller.
Yeah, I think because we're in the forefront of design, and as I said earlier, we are we design fashion, and that's the whole point. So because we're at the starting point, you need inspiration for that. So I think that's better. The human, and has to come from the human mind. Well, puts it many ways. The great life, the AI element of it, that sort of refines that extra layer, isn't it? It's refining that look. And we're doing a lot of design, so we get a set of designs back that are great to look at as a wire, as it were, where you can see how it fits together. But then when we throw the AI element on there, the lighting and tweaking, it elevates the whole thing. And I've had a client recently that was very much like, when you send these drawings over, will they be
AI, will we go like top quality, photorealistic? And I was like, well, we can do that if you want. Personally, I don't need that as a designer or an individual.
You can see it.
I see it in how I walk into a room, you can picture it. But people need that kind of, how's the lighting going to look? It's on the lighting. We sent the drawings off to them. Bearing in mind the lady that created the drawings relatively new to the business. Sent the drawings to them, and I spoke to the guy and said, what do you think of the drawings? And he went, said, they're all right, aren't they? And he went, they're more than all right, Sean. He said, I've never seen anything this polished. I said, they're fantastic. It was quite nice to hear that feedback.
Beautiful.
Knowing that they had that standard, and it worked straight away. If I'd have sent him the original drawings without the AI influence, then he probably would have gone, yeah, they don't look polished to them. But again, it's a fine line. You've got to have the reality of the product, haven't you? So you've got to have the showrooms. It's all well and good showing it on an AI-generated image, but if you can't come in the showroom, touch the product, feel the product. Yeah, but retailing is not dead like the world thinks it is, where you order everything online and you don't need shops anymore. It's quite the opposite, and I think you'll see this twist coming back.
Well, we talk about the modalities of communication, and I don't know if you've heard of VAC, visual, audio, and kinesthetic. And kinesthetic means touching and feeling something. And I did actually buy my car off a website without driving it first, but there aren't many people that do that.
That wasn't a good move.
I won't tell you to make, but maybe I do regret it. But you've got to touch something, you've got to feel it.
You've got to know how.
100%.
I don't think we'll ever be They'll always need retail. I think it's disappointing in some ways that since the last 4 or 5 years where we've had these COVID years, and I hate to keep going back to them because it's a really old thing of the past and we've got to move on from it.
Yeah.
But we've got to get people back out into walking into a shop, walking into a retailer, taking the time, not saying I'm too busy to go and look. I'll just do it all virtually.
And why wouldn't you come and enjoy this space? I mean, it's inspirational. If you're looking for ideas for your bathroom,
hit the nail on the head to make, because it is like inspiration. We change the evening displays. Well, I don't know now. I mean, literally, we change it probably about every 3 months. There's something
really
constantly being changed, because it is about, we have to be on point with everything we do. We're bringing our things all the time, saying we need to show it. Because if you show it and you touch it, you will.
Same with the factory, so to make that point, but every single year.
Yeah.
So April to September, generally, we have all the showrooms open to take clients over there. And once we hit September onwards, they literally sort of rip apart the showrooms and start again.
Really?
Quite amazing that they completely, the showroom that's 4 or 5 times the size of this, and they'll literally rip it all out, and they'll reinstall it with the whole new concept.
Incredible.
I mean, the cost alone is huge. Because they're manufacturing the product, let's take back to the point about creating your own product from scratch. They're obviously getting all that material at the best price, aren't they? So they can afford to put an extremely expensive tile on it. Because in theory, it's not actually costing them the same as it would if you were to...
We're dealing with 150 countries, so taste is different, so everything has to change. And we have, generally we have our fair in March, and they have 20,000 clients come through the showroom. It's March alone.
Wow.
And that we bring over from all around the world just so we can be shared with. So we take clients, and every country's doing the same. And then it's almost a case of we put things on display for people to do like it, is it going to sell in their country? So almost they're doing their own market research.
Do their market research,
through clients dead around the world.
Taking people and saying, what do you think? They'll produce, in the past, it used to do about 120 new tile designs every year. They'd then do the fair, send everybody around there, get the feedback, and then you probably might only see 60 of those designs. And you occasionally go to the factory and show your product. You go, that's lovely, I love that. Or we're not making that. So you've got this whole concept thing going on, like the concept car. Build a concept car. We're never going to sell it. It's like, it's to gauge a trend, really, isn't it? But
guys,
quite interesting.
This has been a real eye-opener for me. I really enjoyed talking to you today. And biggest takeaways for me is, you have got products for everybody. So, get into the showroom. Let's support our local business and have a look around and get some inspiration.
And we want to engage with the Chester market more as well, because we're covered in Chester, Warrington, Manchester and West. I think this is our flagship now for the Northwest. It's been just over a year here. we've been building great bridges with, chamber of commerce and local business. I've lived here for 20 odd years, and it's nice to be able to bring the local flyers in here. I've had friends and family coming in here now; they know it's here. People from North Wales, which they never would have travelled necessarily as far as Manchester. It's really opening up that local market. Really.
Coffee is awesome.
Coffee's been always. Yeah, I have to look at the people.
Good. One last question then. What would be your top 3 pieces of advice for someone thinking about starting their own business? I think we'll come to you first, Sean, if that's all right.
I'd say focus very heavily on your profit margin that you're making on the product in the first place, because if you're not, is there any point producing something and you're not making any money on it? That's the main thing for me from experience, and having worked for smaller businesses in a position where I was purchasing the product from a supplier abroad. I always had it drilled into me, in my younger years, that it was critical to make sure that you've got all your costs covered. If you're bringing something in, you need to make sure you're allowing for your packaging, for your costs, for your shipping, and you split that down amongst the cost of the product to make sure that you've got a base price to start with, and then don't undersell yourself by thinking you've got to sell it cheap. If the product's good, it will hold the value that it's worth. I think that's one key point from my point of view. Always, when you say you're going to do something as a business, or you're trying to bring on a new client, always keep that promise and make sure that if you promise to do something, that you don't forget it, that you've promised to do it. I must admit, probably in the last couple of years, as I've got a little bit older and there's a lot going on, you can forget things occasionally, but I do like to think that I pretty much make sure that any question that's asked, regardless of what it's connected to, walking into may not even be a product that we do. There may be somebody else that does a similar product. If you've made a promise to a customer that you send them that information, that you send them that information.
Very good.
I think those are 2 key points. And then perhaps the third key point is, if you do have a problem within your business or something goes wrong, make sure that you correct it quickly, efficiently, and make sure the customers look after. So the aftercare, I suppose I'd say, the after sales, or the relationship, the relationship that comes from you fixing a problem. I think a lot of clients I've noticed in the past, they've had a problem with the product, you put it right, and then they come back to you in the future.
Without a doubt, again.
It's saying, in a sense, almost the problem, like a magic creature of other company editors, in the end,
we do very well out of other people making mistakes. Could we get pulled in all the time? There's a problem, this supplier hasn't got something, can you help us? Yes, we can. But it's interesting that those people don't speak to you all year round. They ring you when they're in need and they need you to fail them out.
Interesting.
So never be scared to take advantage of the opportunity to get somebody else of misfortune.
Well, there we go. I like that. But what could you add to that then, Nick?
I'd always say, involved up in the design business during the years and things, and R&D is huge. I think any business that you're going to form, you need to do your research. And you really make sure you know what you're going into as a long-term game, because that's the thing. You need sustainability. It comes out in your business. So therefore, you need to make sure you've got the client base that you want to go after is exactly the client base that you can serve. Usually all I think was the biggest opportunity, I think, of thinking, I want this client base, but then is whatever you're making or designing or selling to, is it for them? And I think people just miss it. It's lost any time. And that's the thing. So I think you're in marketing. So do your homework, think on what you want to do, and then stick to your principles, stick to your guns, and do that. I think over time you can expand and grow a business. I think the core, Retro Hammer Base, they went from 74, I think it was up to about 82. I think it was fully even looked at another factory in the sense of growing. And I think that was their sustainability part here. I think that's key. So we need to get it right. So not over elaborate and not expand too much in the beginning. Like you say, focus on what you're good at and find what we're in.
Well, I like that.
I think afterwards, keep saying about that's a bit like Sean said, really. I think your relationships with existing customers is as big as anything. I think the number one thing for our business here is repeat business, and eventually selling on we can do here because of our factions is our biggest opportunities is how we expand our business. It's one thing looking for clients, which we do constantly always on the lookout for new clients, but servicing your existing clients. And, they go from their tiles to then next year they will buy a bathroom. So that's all in your less looking kitchen. And that's massive. So if you're in a business where you can expand it, where you've got your client basic clients, I think that's and be the person that people turn to when they need something. You're in their phone book and let them remember or remind them. Even if you haven't seen people for a long time, make sure you keep in touch with those people. Offer a message. How are you getting on? How's things? How's the family?
Stay in touch.
Stay in touch, regardless of whether they're buying or not buying from you at that stage. And when they do want to buy something, they'll be on the phone to you straight away. I think it's constant communication to give people what they do think once you get a nucleus and as you grow it, it's that very fine line thing between expanding to get more clients in. If you can't really service them in time, certainly if you're a small business when you're starting, it isn't hard, I think. I've dealt with things with businesses in that sense, and they point someone in, almost as a BDM like we do with our role, they say, right, go out and get us business. If you can't fulfill it, but you can back chain, you need to concentrate on the people you have got. So just set realistic goals always for a new business. But then pull it slowly, just build out and run for more. But you will see a lot of businesses doing very early.
Yeah, for sure.
Global very quickly, and then they'll realise, we're not. But that's what out to be global. Hopefully, what you see business up, generally people have an idea or they want to do something, and that's what they're good at. So sticking where you're good at first. Definitely.
Brilliant.
Service you good people in that.
Well, guys, thank you. Thank you so much for being on today. There's some absolute gold dust there. Just in summary, your profit margins, know your numbers. You got to know your numbers. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. I mean, gosh, how simple is that? But what a difference it can make.
The core story.
It is, isn't it?
The transaction.
Fix your problems quickly.
Walking.
Research, understanding your market. Focus on what you're good at. Look after your customers and stay in touch. There's some real gold there for anybody listening. So thank you so much for that.
No.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
We really appreciate you asking us to do those things.
Well, I'll be back for the quick last time.
Every day.
Yeah. Cake and coffee. I'll stop in every day.
With something.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you.
Sure we'll get you about there.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye.